So this is something I've been very excited about doing, and that is to really do a complete training course on how to fix credit report errors. And I'll go into a little bit of background here in a moment, but this will be the first session, and very excited to have everybody here, certainly everybody live, and then whoever watches the replay, happy to have you as well. So let me get my slides going here. So I want to tell you a quick story. I think it was in the Gatlinburg area in Tennessee. And if you've ever driven up there, you know, there are all sorts of hills and mountains and two-lane roads. And of course, it was raining, and GPS is telling me that my turn is coming up. And, you know, 1,000 feet and 200 feet and turn now. And, yeah, I can barely see because it's the bad weather and rain and everything. And so I start to turn like GPS tells me, and I realize, well, that would take me off the side of this, you know, I call it a mountain. It wasn't really a mountain, but I was supposed to go this way, but GPS is telling me to go that way. And it's a reminder of something that was mentioned probably 90 years ago or so. It's an expression that has a lot of value, and it's the map is not the territory. Well, what does that mean? Well, if we have a picture of the Grand Canyon, that's not actually the Grand Canyon. It's just a picture of it. If think about your favorite restaurant, and you're looking at the menu, it's got your absolute favorite meal on there. That's a picture of it. That's not actually the meal. Okay. So a map or GPS is not the actual territory. And the thing is, these representations can be wrong. So remember when GPS tried to run me off the side of this little mountain, you know, sometimes we can have a representation that is not right. Our credit reports are representations of our credit history, but they may not be correct. So here's what we do. First, we've got to see, well, what do those credit reports actually say about us? Then we identify the errors, and then we dispute those errors. And there's only two choices. They get fixed or we sue. Those are the choices. At least in my world, those are the choices. Okay. And so this is why we're starting with the credit reports. But let me tell you this, just in my personal life, I never tell anybody I'm a lawyer. So, you know, I don't, in the grocery store or at church, I don't say, by the way, you know, I'm a lawyer. And I've been a lawyer since 1995. So 26 years. But there was a time when I broke that rule. Okay. And that is, and I've shared this in a video before, but I was packing. Okay. My family was packing to move into our first house, and the mortgage broker calls and says, we have a problem. And it's like, no. I don't want to hear that. And it was something on credit reports that was wrong. And so I called them. I said, hey, look, you know, you're affecting me closing on my house. This is wrong. I need you to fix it. And they go, no. And I had sued a few times under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, but it wasn't something I did regularly. My background is doing personal injury. And so, you know, finally I said, you know what, I'm a lawyer. And they still wouldn't fix it. And I said, look, I don't write wills or do probate. I'm in litigation. I don't know anything about criminal law or how to write contracts or anything like that. But here's what I do know is litigation. They wouldn't fix it. I said, all right, let me explain this. I sue companies for a living. That's what I do. And finally, we were able to get it fixed. But it occurred to me that this was incredibly difficult because it was an obvious error. And, you know, did they fix it because I'm a lawyer that sues companies? Maybe, you know, but what if you don't, you know, have a law degree? What if you haven't filed suits under the Fair Credit Reporting Act before? What do they do to you? So I started helping my clients with this. And so for the last 20 years, I've been suing these debt collectors and these furnishers of information that put false information on our credit report, and suing credit bureaus like Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. But there's a problem. And the problem is people will come to me and they are convinced they have errors, but we can't tell because they don't have their actual credit reports. Or they have their actual credit reports and they have errors, but they don't know how to dispute them. And they've disputed maybe for 6 months or a year and still haven't been able to get things fixed. And so they don't know how to dispute, or they go to a credit repair place. And look, there are some good credit repair places, but there's a whole bunch that are either incompetent or dishonest. And so they're just taking people's money and doing just garbage type disputes. And so I wanted to be able to set something up where I could help train people and share some knowledge that I've learned, mainly from making a lot of mistakes, but knowledge I've learned to say, here's how you identify errors. Here's how you actually write your dispute letters so that you can get things fixed or be able to ultimately sue if it's not fixed. So let me take a look at, let's see. Yeah, some comments. Is this live? Yeah, this is live. It's April 8th at 11 o'clock here. And so, all right, so let me tell you who this training is not for. If you know everything about how to fix credit reports, and if it doesn't get fixed, how to sue, then really this training is not for you, okay? Or if you are not willing to learn and do the work, and if you study marketing, they'll say never use the word learn because people don't want to put the work in. Well, I'm just being very blunt with you. To identify the errors, to fix errors on your credit reports, you must do the work. You must learn. You must do the work. And if you'd rather pay somebody to do this, and not me, okay? People don't pay me to do this. But if you'd rather pay somebody to fix your credit reports and you don't want to know anything about it, then frankly, this training series is not for you, okay? This is if you want to either do this on your own or be able to go to somebody and know whether they're doing a good job for you. That's what this training is for. And I see somebody on here, D says, realize after I put my Zoom sweater on. Okay. So we are doing some live YouTubes, actually doing one at 4 o'clock Central Time today. But yeah, this is just, it's only set up where the camera will be on me. And but I will be looking at the comments. And then particularly at the end, we will definitely spend some time going over any questions people have about this particular module. So remember, this is going to be one of about 5 or 6 modules here. So let me give you a real quick version. I think a lot of you know me from YouTube videos and things like that, so I won't spend much time on this, but I've been suing companies under the FCRA for over 20 years. I train lawyers in how to do this. So we have things called continuing legal education. So I train lawyers. Credit repair companies come to me and say, hey, what about this or what about that? Can we sue? Do we need to dispute this again? And as I mentioned, I personally have had times, more than once in my life where there's some error on my credit report and it's sort of like a flat tire. It never happens at a convenient time. It's always when you need help right away. So I understand about this and I'm not charging you anything for this. Now, that sort of brings up a question. Well, why am I doing this if I'm not charging? How am I making money? Well, here's how I'm making money or getting benefit out of this. If you will go through this course and then you write me and say, hey, I took the ideas in that training course and great news, I got everything fixed. Well, hey, I'll be thrilled for you. And if you want to leave me a Google review, that would be awesome, okay? Or if you write to me and say, hey, I did the disputes the right way and it wasn't fixed, and I went to a lawyer who's good at suing under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and they were thrilled with the disputes I did. Fantastic, okay? I want you to go to the right lawyer. I don't want you to go to a lawyer that the credit bureau sort of rub their hands together and say, great, this guy or this gal doesn't know what in the world they're doing. We're going to make fantastic law. I don't want you doing that. I want you to go to people who are good. Or if you come to me and say, hey, I went through this training course, I disputed everything, they didn't fix it, and can you help me either directly or work with another lawyer? Hey, that's great, okay? So I want you to get the most benefit out of this course. And let's see here. Thanks for doing this today, John, Jeff. Well, you're very welcome. And Karen asked lawyers in Oklahoma. I don't know specifically where they're from, frankly, because I'll do these trainings, these CLEs, and it's people all over the nation. So let me just mention this about the questions and comments. There'll be a temptation, I know, to say, well, what about can I dispute this or that? That's not exactly what we're going to cover today. Okay, we're going to get to that. So I will try to answer any questions, but let me sort of lay out for you what we're doing today. And it's this first section. We have to know what our real credit reports say. And it might seem so basic, or, what does that matter? But trust me, it makes a big difference. And then next, we're going to say, all right, now that we have our credit reports, what do they say about me personally? Name, date of birth, address, social, place of employment, phone numbers. Again, a lot of people say that's not important. Trust me, it's very, very important. If you've ever had what's called a mixed merge file, where your file and somebody else's file have been mixed together, you will know how important it is to make sure that biographical information is correct. And then we're going to look at public records, which for the most part means bankruptcies, and inquiries. And again, a lot of people skip inquiries or say there's nothing you can do about inquiries. That is absolutely untrue. Okay, we can definitely do things with inquiries, and also public records if there are errors in them. And then the fourth section, and we'll spend a lot of time on this, and maybe multiple webinars, but this is on identifying every error on every negative account. How do we do that? How do we document that? What are errors? We'll figure all that out. And then the final session will be, how do we put all this together into a dispute letter? And I'm always going to talk about dispute letters, even if you do the dispute online. And I'll explain that when we get to this part of the training. But how do we put the dispute letter together correctly, get it to the right place with the right materials, and then either know we have everything fixed or we're in a position to sue. So I'm going to take a quick drink of water and I'll look at the comments here. Okay, so yeah, and I'll get to some of these questions. There's some about debt validation, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, not necessarily in this session. So think about it this way. If you've ever built a house, and I'll tell you this, I am not, I've never personally built a house, but I've had, builders build houses for me. And just my observation is they go out there and they clear the land first. Okay. They make the land the right way. And then they put the foundation, and then, you might see plumbing or this or that. In other words, they don't build the whole house and then say, oh, we forgot to put the plumbing in. Well, that's a bit of a problem. So they've got to do things the right way. And my suggestion is this is the right order to build your dispute letters and then to properly send those dispute letters out. So here's a few tools that I want you to get, or at least consider getting. If you're working on your credit reports, you can certainly do it on a phone or an iPad or a tablet, but it sure is easier if you have a laptop or a desktop. Adobe Scan, you can get that for your phone, iPhone, Android phone. It's the best scanning app out there. It's totally free, and this will be very, very valuable for you. I can't tell you how many times people will send us pictures that, it's sort of at a weird angle and you can barely read it. Use Adobe Scan. It's so helpful. And then my strong recommendation is do your disputes by certified mail. And if you're going to do that, you can either go to the post office, so make sure you know how to do that and fill out certified mail there. You can get labels online and then you can print them yourself, or you can upload. So you can take your dispute letter, turn it into a PDF, upload that. I happen to use a service called certifiedmaillabels.com, and that's how I mail dispute letters. I upload it to them, and then they mail that out. There are other places you can do. Particularly if you're going to do an online dispute, or if maybe your credit report is only online, this would be myequifax.com. You need to be able to have a screen recorder. My best recommendation is Zoom. Somebody mentioned having their Zoom sweater on. I think all of us have Zoom. If we're working from home or we have kids in school, I think everybody has Zoom. The free account, you can do a Zoom just with yourself, and set it to record the screen and share your screen. You don't have to have the camera on. And so that's just the easy way to record. Or also have Snagit and Loom. You can do that. Scan in your driver's license with that Adobe scan. You'll need that if you're doing a dispute by the mail. And then also a utility bill or similar bill. We'll talk about this again. All that's to prove your identity. So let's see here. Jessica asks, why are there differences in credit reports versus ones received in the mail? Yeah, there are differences. And I have sort of my own theories about that, but part of it is literally the data is changing daily. And sometimes you just get more information one way or the other. And so we're going to talk about credit reports here. And so we need your real credit reports. I'm going to call them credit reports. Technically, these are called consumer disclosures, but everybody, calls them credit reports, and that's how I'm going to refer to them. We want these directly from the bureaus. So I have some things listed on the screen like Credit Karma, My FICO. Look, I use My FICO, okay? But it's not my real credit reports. Smart Credit, I use that with clients sometimes. Identity IQ, I've used that. All those are fine, but they're not your real reports. They do not have all the data. And sometimes the data they have is not correct. And so people will come to us and say, hey, Ken, here's my, my Smart Credit credit reports or my Identity IQ credit reports. Here are my dispute letters. Can I sue? We go, well, let's look at your real reports. We look at the real reports and realize what Smart Credit or Identity IQ or Credit Karma had is not the actual data. And so these are good. There's nothing wrong with having them, but we really want our real credit report. So there's three we've got to get: Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. I have two bonus ones on here. So Innovis and SageStream. You don't have to get those, but those are good to get. And so let's talk about these bonus ones first. And you don't have to get them, but it's good practice and it's good information to have. So I have on the screen, and this will all be in a resource paper, all these links that I have, you'll be able to download these and go right to them. But Innovis.com, you can request this online now. You'll get it mailed to you. SageStream is another one. Now, Innovis is kind of the fourth credit bureau. Now, it would be like, here's the big three, and then Innovis is way down here. But then SageStream does have some information, and that can be useful to get. And but let's talk about the big three. These are the most important ones, okay? Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. The easiest place is what I have down here, annualcreditreport.com. Now, through April of 2022, you can online, now not by mail or by phone, but online, you can pull these once per week. And these are your real credit reports. And so what you do is you log in, you answer some security questions. It'll be like, okay, you had a car loan 3 years ago. Was it $200, $300, $400, $500 a month, or none of the above? It's to make sure this is really you pulling your reports, not your neighbor getting your reports, okay? So then you get your Equifax report, print it or save it to PDF. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then you repeat the process. You get Experian, get TransUnion. Now look, sometimes this doesn't work and you just can't get them, okay? So you can request them by mail, or you can call them. There's a phone number they'll give you, and then they'll mail you the report, okay? And that's good, but I'll give you some alternatives. So you can go to myequifax.com, and that great information, but to my knowledge, there's no really easy way to save your report to PDF. You kind of have to dig into each account, okay? So you can literally get into each account, screenshot it, or do a screen record like we were talking about. Experian.com, that's your real report. You can save that to PDF. I am not aware of how to get your actual TransUnion report for free. Now, you can certainly go to TransUnion and pay for it. You can get Credit Karma, which has TransUnion, but again, never make the mistake of thinking Credit Karma TransUnion is the same thing as your actual TransUnion report. It's close, but it is not your actual report. And trust me, if we're in litigation and we're saying, but I got my Credit Karma, that doesn't work. We have to have the real reports, okay? I will say this, usually TransUnion is probably the easiest one to pull off annualcreditreport.com. And then usually it's Experian or Equifax that we have some trouble with. So that's how we get our real reports. And let's talk about saving them, because we go through this all the time where we tell clients this, all right, go to Annual Credit Report, save it to PDF. And I'll say to them, don't send me a link. Okay, don't send me Experian.com/mycreditreport. And that's what I get back. You click on that, it goes, this is expired. That's not like your link, okay? That's just where you get your credit report. But you've got to save it when you have it open from annualcreditreport.com. Now, if you set up an account for free on Experian.com, you can go back and do this. But annualcreditreport.com, you've got to know how to save it. And for some of you, you're going to be like, this is so basic. Others are going to say, I didn't know you could save to PDF. So I have on here, and again, I have a resource guide that will have all these links, and you certainly can Google this. But you need to figure out for your Windows operating system, how do you save to PDF? For your Mac operating, how do you save? If you have a Chromebook, how do you save? If you have an iPhone, an Android phone, I don't want to put it on here because there's too many varieties, but just Google, hey, I have an iPhone, whatever, 7 Plus with this operating system. How do I print a PDF? Okay. And again, this may seem so basic, but I can't tell you how many delays happen because people just don't know how to print the PDF. Or they'll say, well, I'll just print on my printer, and they end up like cutting off a third of it, and then they scan that to me. Like, that doesn't work. Let's just print to PDF here. And let's see, let me go back to this. And so let me give you some homework here, and then we'll go into some questions here in a moment. So get that Adobe scan on your phone, scan your driver's license. You're going to need that anyway, and it's good practice. And then take a bill, take junk mail, whatever, scan that with Adobe Scan where it has multiple pages. This is what separates it from a lot of scanning apps is you can scan multiple pages all in one document. Because if you get your SageStream, your Innovis, or you get one of the big three through the mail, you need to scan them. And if you do the dispute by mail, you'll get your results back from the bureaus, assuming they respond. And again, we'll talk about all that in that section of the training, but you'll get that by mail. So you need to know how to scan. And again, people will send us like, here's 14 sort of randomly scattered pictures of the results of investigation. That makes it very difficult. You want to scan them the right way. And so again, just get some practice with that. Figure out for your computer, your phone, your tablet, how do I print a PDF? And then, just practice that. And then on the credit reports, my recommendation is go ahead and get Innovis SageStream. If you request them today, you'll get them in about a week or two, okay? And then you'll have those to look at. Go to annualcreditreport.com, get your actual reports, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. If you need to or want to, I've got some other stuff, my Equifax, Experian.com, Credit Karma. And think about this, okay? And I don't even know what time it is here. 24 minutes here. A lot of information, but the temptation is going to be to skip this, but please don't skip this. You've got to get your real credit reports. Again, I'll have people that have done months and months of disputes or credit repair places that will come to me and say, hey, John, we've done 5 rounds of disputes. And I'll say, okay, well, let me see their credit reports where you identified the errors. They go, well, here's Smart Credit. I go, okay, do you have their real reports? Nope. I'm like, okay. Well, where are their disputes? So I get their disputes. I say, well, where are the results of investigation? They're like, John, our clients can't send us the results of investigation. We don't even ask them to scan it to us. We just pull a new Smart Credit every month. And we look at, the first Smart Credit and then the next Smart Credit. I'm like, you don't have any idea what the credit bureaus did. They're like, well, we have these Smart Credit. I'm like, those aren't real. We can't sue over those. Okay. So it's mission critical. I promise you, it'll save you so much time if you'll get your real reports. And look, you can get them once a week through annualcreditreport.com. So it's really, really important to do this. This is the foundation. Remember, we talked about building a house. You got to clear the land. You got to lay the foundation. this is the critical part. I had a house being built one time, and the builder called me and said, we've run into a delay. I said, okay, what happened? He said, we laid the foundation and we flipped the house the wrong way. I'm like, how'd you do that? It's like, well, we looked at the plans wrong. I'm like, well, what are you going to do? He's like, well, we're going to tear up all the foundation, pull out the plumbing, re-level the ground, and then lay it again. I'm like, okay, well, I appreciate you not building it backwards. I hate the delay, but look, this is what I'm telling you on credit reports will save you a lot of time and a lot of anguish here. So next week at the same time, we'll go over the biographical information. I have basically what we're talking about here: name, address, date of birth, social, phone numbers, employment. Again, so many people skip this. I would not skip this, because if they have your name spelled wrong, that's not your name. If they say you live at 123 Main Street and really you live at 123 Main Street, that's not your correct address. If your wrong address is on there, there may be a pre-approved offer sent to the wrong address. Somebody gets that and goes, oh yeah, I'll take out this credit card. I can be Joe Blow or whoever's name it is. And the other thing is, let me make this very practical, kind of from my point of view, when we're suing. If we've identified errors with accounts and they don't get fixed, and we've identified errors on inquiries and those don't get fixed, maybe we've identified an error with a bankruptcy. They have the wrong year, the wrong case number, the wrong court, that doesn't get fixed. And we've said, well, look, you've got my name spelled 5 different ways. Those are incorrect. Fix it. They go, nope, we're not fixing it. I go, you have phone numbers that were landlines from 10 years ago. I don't live there anymore. And they go, we're not fixing it. They're not fixing your addresses, place of employment. What that does is that starts to paint a picture that this credit bureau doesn't care about your dispute. They don't care about your errors. Now, maybe this one little phone number, one little address, maybe if that's all we had, we wouldn't sue. But you start adding this together, and then we get to talk to the federal judge about, look, it's not one error or 2 errors, it's a dozen errors. It's 20 errors that they refuse to fix. And see, once maybe as an accident, maybe twice, but can you have 20 accidents? Okay. And so it's important, first of all, to get it fixed to prevent identity theft and mixed merge files, but it's also important when you're bringing a lawsuit to be able to put all this in front of the judge. Look at all these disputes I made, and I laid everything out for them. And Equifax, Experian, Transunion, SageStream, Innovis, they're like, we don't care. It makes the case a whole lot better. So trust me, this is important to do. So talk here at the bottom of the screen about something that I haven't really mentioned before. That is, I want you to get some practice analyzing the data, looking at these different credit reports, okay? And being able to say, well, what is Equifax saying versus what is Experian or TransUnion saying? And I've made this mistake before of trying to get people to say, all right, look at all your negative accounts, lay out all 3 credit reports, and compile all that information. It's just overwhelming. I mean, it takes us a lot of time to do it. So let's start with something easier. Look through, identify all the errors on your biographical information, your name, your address, your phone number. You'll get some momentum going. And then we'll go into these other sessions. So let me share with you some resources here. Let's see. So this will be a PDF version, and then let me get the Word version. So you should be able to click on these and download. These are identical. Let me show you what these are actually. I can share my screen. This should be popping up. Yeah. So this is the PDF version, and we've got the tools that I've recommended with links you can go to. And let me say this about links. There are no, affiliate links. It's not like you click on something and get Snagit or Loom. I don't get any money out of it. These are just literally the links that'll take you to the place. Zoom, I'll just point out the free version of Zoom, unless they change it, but I checked it this morning, you can record locally. In other words, you can record to your computer. Now, if you want to be able to record to the cloud, you have to have a paid version, but even the free version, you can record locally. I don't know why that didn't come up as a link, but you should still be able to click on it. And you can always just Google, how do I print a PDF for this Windows or this Mac? I've got credit reports to pull, and then some homework here, and just go through. And if you're doing it in Word, you can draw a line, or if you print this out, put a line or say yes or no, and just some things to do in preparation for the class next week. And then just some questions. If you want to keep sort of a running list of questions, you can do that. And the Word version is, identical to this. And so anyway, I hope that those are helpful to you. Let me go back to our presentation here. So on the Q&A, what I will do is go back through the chat here and see what we've got. So you guys are very, very polite, and you're very welcome for this. I appreciate you guys showing up, and because I want to kind of use you guys as the pioneers or the guinea pigs here. And as we go through this, give me some feedback on what you like, what you don't like. And if this is good, I'll just leave it like it is, and we'll put this in. You've heard me talk maybe about Consumer Law University. That is a membership site that we have set up. It's not ready to sort of go public, but eventually we'll have all of our training courses in there. It's totally free. There's never going to be a, $97 a month monthly cost or anything like that. But that's where we'll put these training courses. And so the first group that goes through the webinar, which is how I'll sort of build these courses, you can give me some feedback, and then I can correct and make things better, because I want this to really be an incredibly useful place for people to go to say, hey, I'm dealing with debt collectors, or I'm dealing with a foreclosure, or I've been in a car wreck, or I've got credit report errors, or I've got back taxes I owe. What do I do? How do I learn this stuff? And I'm still going to put stuff on YouTube every day, but it's hard to say, well, here's the handout on the YouTube video, or now make sure you go to session number 2. People just sort of jump all around. So that's why I'm doing it through this webinar thing. So let's see here. I'll try and scroll through these. Yeah, so, like Ace Williams is talking about, when you dispute, but they're not marking it as disputed. So we'll talk about that. Okay, and that really will be in Module 5 when we prepare the dispute letter, send the dispute letter out, and then we evaluate the results coming back. When can we sue? When can we not sue? Do we need to dispute again? Okay, this is interesting. Ace said, I spoke with Equifax the other day. They refused to speak with me unless I sent them a selfie. Well, that's new to me. I haven't heard of that, but that's interesting. Kate says, have reports with 30 years of past addresses. They won't take them off this TransUnion. I'll tell you, TransUnion is normally pretty good about that. Experian is the difficult one, because what Experian does is they'll say, well, this address from 30 years ago is tied to your Capital One credit card, so you have to get them to tell us to take it off. Well, frankly, no, I don't. Okay. They're not reporting my address on my Experian. Experian are reporting it. So that's why we go directly to the bureaus and say, fix this. And again, I talked about this one time in a video. There's sort of this myth in credit repair, only dispute like 5 items, or maybe only 2 errors per item. No, you put all of your disputes together. I mean, you can break them up if you want to sort of drag this out month after month. And that's frankly what a lot of credit repair places do with a monthly charge. But if you're doing this on your own, you want all the errors fixed. So you're going to identify all the bad addresses, all the bad phone numbers, the bad names, the bad places of employment, all the errors, all the inquiries that shouldn't be there. And that's all going to go in one dispute letter. to the bureaus. And so if it gets fixed, great. If it doesn't, then we talk about, can we sue these guys? And I guess I should say this. The reason suing them is so powerful is, at least the way I've done it for 20 years, the non-negotiable is whatever's wrong with my credit report, you have to fix it, okay? Which normally means to delete it. And if Transunion, Experian, Equifax, or a furnisher that we sue, like Capital One or Midland Funding, if they say, well, we're not going to delete this, I go, well, then we're not talking. They go, no, come on, John, what amount of money? I go, we can't even talk about the money unless you agree to delete this. Now, once you agree to delete it, now the money is negotiable. Is that $1? Is it $300,000? Is it $100,000? Like, where's that number? Okay. But we never get to the money part unless you will agree to delete it. And so the advantage of suing is you get it deleted, assuming that you have a good lawsuit, and they're going to pay you money, and there's going to be money for your lawyer. In other words, you should never pay a lawyer out of pocket. You know, if a lawyer says, well, bring me a $10,000 retainer, you're at the wrong lawyer, okay? And there aren't many of us that do this around the country, but all of us that do this, that know what we're doing, we do this on a contingency, or we get our fees if the court awards fees, makes the other side pay our fees. Usually those settlements are in a lump sum, and there's a percentage taken by the lawyer. You take a percentage. And any settlement you do, the lawyer should be able to tell you, all right, here's what they've offered. Here's what this will mean to you, bottom line, in your pocket. And then the way I do it with my clients is I say, here are all the reasons to take the settlement. Here are the reasons to not take it. And then I'll give you my opinion on whether I think you should take it or not take it. So that's the advantage of suing. And let's see here. You know, like Kate mentions a cash app card in the mail. You know, they've been ordered online. They had incorrect spelling. You know, and again, that could be a sign of identity theft. And so this is why we've got to get our real reports. I didn't mention this. The credit monitoring tends to not show the inquiries, or it will only show the what are called hard inquiries or hard pulls. And again, this will be session module 3, I think. But just to give you a little preview, the hard pulls lower your credit score, at least potentially. Those often will show up on credit monitoring, but the soft pulls do not show up, to my knowledge, on anything but Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, and Innovis that they pull it, SageStream that they pull it. And the thing is, so many people just ignore soft pulls. I mean, we've sued over soft pulls before, and the companies, you know, that we sue is like, it's a soft pull, John. It didn't affect your credit score. Yeah, but it was my credit report. You had no right to pull my credit report. You don't get to break into my house, go through my drawers, go through my filing cabinets, and then your defense is, well, I didn't steal anything. And you don't have the right to come in my house and do that. So we look even at the soft pulls. Do they have what's called a permissible purpose? If they do, then fine. And a lot of times they do, but not always, okay? And so we need those real credit reports to see those soft pulls. And so that can be helpful if you realize, well, you know, Cash App is like pulling my credit report and then sending stuff and it's got the wrong address or the wrong name. You know, well, why are they pulling my stuff? Do they have the right to do that? And so some of the questions here are about, you know, do I know a lawyer in a particular state? I would say this. You can always go to NACA.org and look up consumer lawyers. But my recommendation to you is, if you're willing to put in the time, is go through this training course, okay? Because I'll say this. Nobody is going to care about your credit reports as much as you, okay? If you think paying a credit repair place $100 a month and they're going to care as much about your credit reports as you, that's just not true. I mean, it's just business-wise, they can't do that. Your credit report means the most to you. I would learn how to do it on my own. And then even if you decide, hey, I want to hire a credit repair place. And look, if you at the end of this say, John, can you give me a couple names of some credit repair places that you think are doing things the right way? I'll give you those at the end of it. Or, you know, reach out to me privately about that. But you still need to know what the process is. And if the credit repair place says, oh, well, we don't worry about your actual credit reports, we just pull smart credit. Well, why? Yeah, maybe their reasons will resonate with you and you'll say, oh, I think that's good. But, if you say, well, how do you do the dispute letters? And I mean, look, I can't tell you how many times credit repair places come to me and they say, John, we want to send you our clients. I say, okay, well, send me, a sample case. And they'll say, well, here are all the errors. We've identified them from Smart Credit, Identity IQ. I go, well, that's not my favorite, but okay, that's fine. And then I get their dispute letter and it's complete garbage. It has nothing to do with the errors they identified. The letter will say something like, I understand related to my social security number, there may be some account. Please verify all details and correct errors. I'm like, what is that? They go, oh, well, that's the best way to dispute. I'm like, no, that's a terrible way to dispute. I can't sue on that. A judge will sanction me if I bring that kind of garbage into court. And so my point is, even if you're going to hire a place to help you, make sure that you know that they know what they're doing and that you can watch it and make sure. So let's see. Here's a question from Paul. How to request results of investigation. Well, they have to send that to you when they're done with the dispute. And again, we'll cover that at the end, requesting the entire file. So that's a good question. You can write to these guys, to the bureaus, and say, I want my entire file. There's a few things that are not required to be in there. You can do that. As a practical matter, they're not going to send you anything other than what you would get through annualcreditreport.com. Now, it's a different story about whether that is right, what they're doing, okay? And there's some bad case law. Some lawsuits were brought and probably not presented the right way. And so we have some bad case law out there. When I say case law, I mean opinions from judges that sort of limit us a little bit. So it's definitely something I would not like go file a, pro se lawsuit over. They don't get your, they didn't give you your complete file, because the bureaus love when consumers bring lawsuits against them without a lawyer, or when, frankly, they have a lawyer who doesn't know what he or she is doing, because then the bureaus, they go, oh boy, this is great. We get to make some fantastic law, which hurts everybody, okay? And so you can request it, but as a practical matter for right now, just get them off annualcreditreport.com, and that will give us enough to work with. And see some questions about disputing old addresses, and we'll talk about that next week. Lisa says, Biden trying to put all of our credit in one place. And I'm going to make sure I'm not political when I say this. I think everybody, whether you love Biden or hate Biden, will agree with this. Biden is proposing sweeping changes. And he talks as if he has this massive mandate from the country. And I'm going, okay, the Senate is split 50-50. Democrats barely hold a majority in the House. A few states, tens of thousands of votes go differently, and you're not the president. And like, it'd be the same if Trump had won. He couldn't claim a mandate. And so Biden is talking about these sweeping changes. Trust me, Equifax, Experian, Transunion are very, very powerful, very wealthy companies. They are not just going to sit idly by. There's too much money at stake for that. Maybe there'll be some sort of government version. Personally, I'm not in favor of that, because I think they would make it to where you couldn't sue. And then we're just trusting the government to get our credit report right, and there's nothing no, I don't like that. So I don't think that's going to happen. There's too many vested interests with businesses and the bureaus themselves. So I don't think that will happen. And for right now, this is what we have. We have all these bureaus. And so let's see. Some people have asked about hiring me. I'll just say this on hiring me. And I wasn't going to do this, but let me just sort of share with you a common experience. So I check my email, and I'll have an email from somebody like out of the blue, not a client of mine. They'll say, hey, I watch your videos. I've read stuff, I've checked you out. I want you to help me. Well, that's very flattering. I appreciate that. I appreciate the confidence. And they'll say, here are my credit reports. if you'll just go through and find all the errors for me and then prepare a dispute letter and then send that out. And if they don't fix it, then I want to hire you to sue them. And you know, there's probably some late payments on here that are inaccurate. Just let me know. I'll send you PDFs of my bank statements. You can figure all that out and make sure everything gets handled. And I'm kind of looking around going, really? I mean, I'm flattered that you are impressed with my abilities, but I really don't. I mean, let me say this. There are some people that, like in the marketing world, all they do is teach other people how to market. And maybe they're good, maybe they're not good. There are people that talk about legal stuff, but they don't actually practice law, okay? I file lawsuits in state court, most of which end up in federal court. So I'm in state court, I'm in federal court, I'm in arbitration, jams, AAA. I defend people who are sued by debt collectors. In other words, I'm a practicing lawyer. This is what I do just sort of as an additional thing. Just to be blunt, I don't have time to go through people's credit reports unless they're my own clients. Now, if they're my own clients and I represent them for something else, yeah, I'll help them with their credit reports. But even then, you know, I have people that do that for me because I personally don't have time. What I need to spend my time on is people come to me and say, here are my credit reports. Here are the dispute letters I did the right way. Here are the results of investigation that didn't get fixed. Can I sue? And then I look at all that and say, hey, we need to do one more dispute, or no, this is fantastic. Boom, let's file the lawsuit. And so in terms of hiring me, certainly if you're in Alabama and you have a lawsuit to file, we can talk. If you're outside of Alabama, we can still talk because we may can bring the suit in Alabama, or you may be in a state where I say, hey, I've got somebody there that I co-counsel with. They're admitted in your state. They can bring me into the case. So again, I would say, let's get through this whole training course and do your dispute letters. And then you come back to me with those results and I'll be glad to talk to you about it. But I just, again, to be blunt, I don't have time to really, all I would do all day long is, you know, go over credit reports with people because I get multiple emails a day, people saying, here are my credit reports. And so I wanted to do this because I realized all the videos we have on YouTube, I think they're helpful, but they don't take you step by step by step. And if I did just one video, you know, how to dispute your credit reports, well, I'd have to spend time talking about how to pull them correctly, or else that would make people stumble. And the thing would be like 4 or 5 hours long and nobody would watch it. So that's why I'm doing this in this sort of webinar step-by-step approach. And so those of you who are willing to stick with me and go through this, I think it'll be incredibly helpful to you. And I know we also have some folks that do credit repair that are on here, and you're certainly welcome to be on here. I want you to do the disputes, you know, and this is arrogant, but I'll say it the right way, which is the way that I teach. And if you'll do it that way, I think you'll have great results for your clients. And if things don't get fixed, you'll be able to take that to a lawyer, whether that's me or some other lawyer, and that lawyer will look at it and say, wow, you did it the right way. This is fantastic. And so anyway, that's my goal with this. And let me see, like Jeff says, if we hire a credit repair company, do we have the right to get a copy of the dispute? So I'm going to tell you yes, because either they're doing it under what's called a power of attorney, where they do it under their own name, but representing you. Doesn't mean they're a law firm. It just means they have the ability to act on your behalf. Well, if they're your agent, you know, say, hey, give me those letters. And if they send them out under your name, how much more do you have the right to get those? Now, for some reason, this is big in the credit repair world, where a lot of credit repair places will say, no, you can't see the letter. It's like, wait a minute. You sent out a letter under my name and you won't let me look at it. They go, no, it's proprietary. It's confidential. You're like, what are you talking about? And sometimes they'll be honest with you and they'll say, we don't want you to see our letters because we think you'll just do it and you'll fire us. Well, look, if all the place is doing is sending out some form letter, you should fire them, okay? If they're not putting any work into this, then you're just throwing your money away, okay? So if you're with a credit repair place who says, we won't let you see the letters, boy, that would be the biggest red flag to me that I am with probably a crooked place and who knows what they're doing. I'll give you one example. And this is a huge credit repair place. We won't name them, but huge credit repair place. And so they just send out these sort of ridiculous form letters. Okay. And remember, they're on a monthly, so it's to their incentive to drag this thing out month after month. That's recurring revenue. And these letters say, it's been a pleasure dealing with your company, but I noticed that you have a late, and as a matter of courtesy, since of our longstanding and wonderful customer relationship, will you please remove that? Where's the problem? That gets sent out on identity theft accounts. So imagine, that client coming to me now saying, hey, John, I've disputed this. I've given a police report, FTC, fraud affidavit. We'll talk about all that when we talk about errors and disputes. And it didn't get fixed. And I sue, and the company says, well, John, your client sent us 3 of these letters talking about they have really enjoyed being our customer and longstanding relationship. What does that do to my case? Okay. Maybe it doesn't completely gut it, because then I say, well, that was really this crooked credit repair place sending out bogus stuff. Okay. It's still very embarrassing and it damages my client's credibility. And so that's why I say, you need to see what's being sent out on your behalf. If you're not, to me, that's just crazy to not get it. You have no idea what these people are doing. So let's see. Morris asked, how long take to remove negative items after you sue? Here's the deal. Technically, they don't have to remove them, but psychologically they have to, because here's what they don't want me doing. Is standing in front of a federal court jury in closing argument saying, you know what, my client identified these errors back, whatever, a year ago. And they disputed them. And look at all the proof they gave. You know what the credit bureaus did? Nothing. They refused to fix it. Client comes to me, has to hire a lawyer. They want to hire a lawyer, didn't want to have a lawsuit. They wanted this stuff taken off. I filed the lawsuit. Guess what? They still don't take it off. We put Equifax, Experian, Transunion under oath in a deposition. They admit that this is wrong. Did they take it off? No. Here we stand today in court. So here's my question to you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. How big does the verdict need to be to get it through their thick skull that they need to delete this? Is it $10,000? Is it $100,000? Is it $1 million? Like, what will get the attention of these multinational corporations to say, you know what, we better pay attention and fix this? They don't want me to make that argument. They want to be able to, in court, go, we got sued and we were just about to fix it anyway. Coincidentally, we were going to fix it the day after we got served with the lawsuit. So the lawsuit had nothing to do with it. Well, that's a lie. Okay. The jurors know that's a lie. Okay. But it sure is better for them than to say, yeah, we still haven't fixed it, And so they tend to fix this stuff very quickly, at least when we sue. They do this as to mitigate the damages, sort of keep the damages down. Let's see, Darren asked a question, are we the beta group or the Consumer Law University beta group? So let me just say this. In a sense, yeah, you guys are the beta group, okay? It's the first time I've done this webinar this way. Now, I've done this live, in person and trainings, but not, through a webinar mechanism. And so when we open up the Consumer Law University, which we'll do probably when this is done, and then the training course on suing debt collectors and or more accurately, using the FDCPA, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, to stop these collectors. When I have both of those ready, that's when we'll open it up, and then we'll just keep adding new content every week to that. So you guys, when you signed up for this, there should have been a little box that you could check to say, you agree we can market to you. Those are just what are called broadcast emails or automated emails. And if you did not check that and you want to know about, for example, Consumer Law University, just check that box. That'll put you into our It's called Infusionsoft. It's our customer relationship manager. And then when we open things up, we can send you an email. Hey, here's how you register for Consumer Law University. So like I said, you guys are kind of in the first training course here, and I'll appreciate your feedback. And so Sage, Darren also asked, SageStream and Innovis required to provide free reports. Yes, but only once per year. The annualcreditreport.com, the bureaus did not have to do that, but Equifax, Experian, TransUnion just agreed to do that. You'll always get your Innovis and SageStream through the mail. And Travis asked how I get my credit report for free. Well, just look at the resource guide and just go to those links and you can get it. And Kate asked about printing Lexus Nexus report. Yeah, that's a big report. Okay, and we're not going to directly cover that in this training course, but it's the same thing. You go to LexisNexis, you get your report, save it to PDF, and then now if it comes in the mail, you've got to scan it in. And but it'll be the same concept. Look, there are hundreds of credit reports. There's a credit report for truck drivers. Nothing to do with credit cards. It's how many speeding tickets, how many times did you back into a pole, how many times you have property damage. It's a credit report for truck driver. Same concept. We go through there and we look at it. We analyze the data. We identify the errors. We dispute and it's fixed or we sue. And let's see. Yeah, Darren put a comment. Yeah, here's a mountain of paperwork. Here, find the problems. Yeah, that's right. And so somebody says file in federal court. Yeah, if I take cases, actually we file them in state court. I won't bore you with the details. There's some strategic reasons to do that. Then they always get moved to federal court. Let's see here. Well, I will. I think that is about the last question. I appreciate everybody's comment. Somebody did ask, do they have more than 30 days to respond due to COVID? They would say yes. I say no. And here's where the confusion comes in. In April of last year, 2020, the CFPB came out and said, hey, we understand because of COVID, we're not going to fuss at you credit bureaus if you take more than 30 days, but do your best. Well, I think the credit bureaus took that as like, hey, we can take as long as we want. Well, I really don't care what the CFPB does. That was the CFPB saying enforcement actions. I'm not the CFPB. You're not the CFPB. When we sue in state court or we sue in federal court or it ends up in federal court, they can raise Cain and fuss about, oh, the CFPB. Well, hey, Congress did not change the Fair Credit Reporting Act. The Fair Credit Reporting Act says they have 30 days to investigate, sometimes 45 days. But that's it. There is no exception for COVID. So they can whine and complain and do all this stuff. I don't really care. Okay. Now, you know, if they take 40 days and give you the results and they fix everything, I'm not going to sue them for that. But when they don't respond at all, hey, that's on them. But this is why we have to prove that they received it. Thus why I talk about certified mail. Or if you do an online dispute, you've got to record your screen because they will just swear they never got your dispute. You need to say, well, here's the video file proving that I did that. Let's see. All right, so on the comments here. So, okay, well, listen, I think I'll wrap it up here. Make sure and grab those handouts. And let's see here. Yeah, it looks like we've had about 24 people, 25 people grab each one. And look, this is my first time to use this software, this Demio webinar platform. I mean, I've kind of tested it out and I've used it as a participant. If I set it up correctly, hopefully I did, everybody who attended and those who did not attend, because I think we had like 125 people register, you should get an email with a link that will be the replay link. Okay, so if you want to go back over this, you can. And if for some reason you can't get the download, maybe you're on your phone right now, you should be able to go back and get the download. If you have any trouble doing that, you've got my email on all the automated emails. Don't just reply to those because I don't think they come to me, but just, you know, click on my email. That'll open up your your email, provider, Gmail or whatever, and just say, hey, can you send me the downloads if you have any trouble getting them? And we will meet back next Thursday at 11 a.m. and we'll go over the biographical information. How do we, what's an error? What's not an error? How do we compile this information? We'll start using a spreadsheet. Now, I've made this available to people, but this will be an updated version of the spreadsheet. I want you to start learning how to use this. You don't have to use a spreadsheet, but it sure makes it easier, particularly if you have multiple negative accounts that have errors. And so it's just sort of easy to get a running start with, here's the name, address, phone number, all that stuff. Then we go into the public records, the inquiries, and then we get into the actual account. So appreciate you guys being here. Oh, and I do want to say this. At 4 o'clock Central, we do this every other week, although 2 weeks ago had terrible storms and I couldn't do it with internet issues. But it's called Legalese. I do this with Stephen Palmieri. And he's a guy that helps train credit repair companies. So we have a lot of folks from the credit repair world there, but also just a lot of consumers. And that'll go live at 4 o'clock Central Time. And this is Thursday, April the 8th. And you can catch that on my YouTube channel or my Facebook page or Stephen's training group. And I put a post up on YouTube. You can find all the groups there. So anyway, I'll look forward to if any of you are available then, and that will also just be on my YouTube channel. You can watch it then. So you guys have a great day, and I will see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.